Imagine that for a second. Everything you believe to be real, your body, the objects around you, even time itself, is only the surface. Like the tip of an iceberg floating above the water. Solid, familiar, convincing. But beneath it, something invisible is holding everything in place. What supports all of this? What allows reality to exist at all? The answer lies in the quantum field, and no, this isn't a movie theory or a poetic metaphor. It's real science, just not the kind most people were ever taught to understand. Why has no one explained it like this before? Perhaps because it's often presented in a cold, distant way, buried under formulas, symbols, and language that feels disconnected from life. The human meaning gets lost, but the truth about the quantum field is actually simpler and deeper than that. Understanding it isn't about memorizing complex physics. It's about seeing your life differently, about changing how you relate to your thoughts, emotions, energy, and choices. Once you start looking beneath the surface, reality stops feeling random and starts feeling connected. You've probably heard the phrase, "everything is vibrating." It sounds poetic, maybe vague, so your mind dismisses it as symbolic. But in this context, it's literal. Look at anything you call solid, your hand, a chair, the floor under your feet. What feels firm and stable is, at a deeper level, organized movement. Atoms aren't tiny, hard balls stacked together. They're patterns of energy, mostly empty space held in form by forces that never stop moving. If you could zoom in far enough, there would be no stillness. Only motion, oscillation, exchange. That's what vibration means here. Not something mystical floating in the air, but constant activity. A silent music playing everywhere, even in what seems quiet. The reason you don't notice it is similar to why you don't feel the earth spinning. Your nervous system evolved to focus on survival, not on perceiving the full depth of reality. This matters because it changes what you think you are. If everything is vibration, then you're not a fixed object moving through a dead world. You're a dynamic process inside a larger process. Your body is rhythm. Your thoughts are rhythms. Your emotions are rhythms. All of them interact with the rhythms around you, whether you're aware or not. Science has circled this idea for over a century. At the quantum level, particles behave more like waves than objects. They don't have a single position until they interact. They exist as probabilities, tendencies, vibrations in a field. Matter emerges when vibrations stabilize long enough for us to name it. Stability creates the impression that the world is static and separate, but separation is interpretation, not fact. The same underlying field that gives rise to a star also gives rise to your nervous system. The difference isn't substance, it's organization and frequency. You can feel this without believing anything new. Think about how your body responds to a room. Some places make you tense without explanation, others make you breathe deeper. Your body knows. That's vibration translated into sensation. Your system reads the environment and adjusts long before your rational mind catches up. Internally, a thought isn't just a sentence in your head. It's an electrical and chemical event. An emotion isn't abstract. It has weight, temperature, speed. Anxiety tightens and accelerates. Calm slows and opens. You don't need to label them as high or low. Just notice they feel different because they are different patterns of energy. Many people get confused. They hear that everything is vibration and assume it means forcing a certain state. Smile more, think better thoughts, stay positive. But forcing a vibration doesn't work because force itself has a frequency. Tension carries its own signal. Pretending to feel something you don't creates internal noise, not coherence. A more honest approach is observation. Notice how your state changes throughout the day. Notice what speeds you up, what settles you. Notice how your body reacts before your mind explains. This isn't about control, it's about sensitivity. When you become more sensitive, you start to recognize that you're always broadcasting something, even in silence. Try a simple experiment. Pause for a few breaths and feel the space inside your chest, not the idea of it, the sensation. Is it tight, open, neutral? That sensation is vibration made personal. It's information always present even when ignored. Once you start seeing yourself as embedded in the quantum field, a subtle transformation begins. Not dramatic, not flashy, but quietly revolutionary. You notice that your decisions ripple outward, not as magical cause and effect, but as shifts in patterns. Small actions carry momentum because they align with the flows you inhabit, not because they force outcomes. Life becomes less about brute force and more about resonance. Resonance is the practical heartbeat of this understanding. Systems that are in sync with their own internal rhythm and with each other exchange energy efficiently. Discordant systems waste energy. You've felt this before. Conversations that flow effortlessly versus those that exhaust you. Meetings that feel productive versus those that feel chaotic. Relationships that harmonize versus those that create tension. These experiences are microcosms of the quantum field at work. The field itself doesn't care about labels, morality, or intention. It cares about patterns, alignment, and coherence. This reframing changes your approach to influence. You are no longer trying to control an external world that resists you. You are learning to calibrate your own internal system so that your state naturally aligns with opportunities, people, and outcomes. It's subtle. It's invisible. It's not about manifesting your desires overnight, but about cultivating a signal that the world can resonate with. The clearer your inner alignment, the less friction you encounter. The louder your internal noise, the more resistance you meet. Emotional awareness becomes crucial here. Emotions are not distractions, obstacles, or signals to suppress. They are the most immediate language your nervous system has to report on the patterns it's interacting with. Anxiety, for instance, is a contraction in your energy system, a message that some element is out of rhythm. Joy, calm, curiosity. These are expansions, states of coherence. When you allow emotions to move through you instead of resisting them, they complete their cycles and restore alignment. Suppressed or resisted emotions loop, creating feedback that reverberates through the system, generating tension and incoherence that the field mirrors back. This perspective also dissolves the old obsession with positive thinking. You don't override your internal patterns by sheer mental effort. Positive thought without alignment is like trying to tune a piano while someone else is hammering its strings. The result is noise. Instead, observe your habitual states. Notice where tension, contraction, or resistance exists. Notice where coherence naturally arises. Your task is not to manufacture states artificially, but to cultivate awareness of what is already present. Awareness itself reduces interference. It lets patterns settle. It allows coherence to emerge. Surrender in this framework is a practical tool. Not passivity, not resignation. Surrender is allowing your system to function according to its natural intelligence without unnecessary interference. Your body already demonstrates this in countless ways. Your heart beats without conscious effort. Your lungs inhale without instruction. Your nervous system balances temperature and posture automatically. The field operates in a similar way. When you release excessive control, energy moves more efficiently, decisions flow more naturally, and timing becomes more precise. Even silence plays a role. In a world saturated with noise, the quiet moments are where coherence becomes detectable. When you pause, when you allow attention to widen beyond habitual thought, subtle signals appear. You notice patterns in your body, your mind, and the environment. You feel the ebb and flow of energy. You sense what aligns and what doesn't. Silence is the medium through which the quantum field communicates most clearly. It's not mystical, it's informational. The quieter you become internally, the more you can perceive the rhythm of life itself. Identity is another illusion softened by this perspective. The I that you cling to, the fixed story of your body, your thoughts, your history, is useful but provisional. You are a process, a rhythm, a node in a vast interconnected system. When you stop over-identifying with the narrative of self, attention expands. The sense of separation diminishes. You begin to experience your existence not as a set of solid, isolated objects, but as a dynamic interplay within a living field. This perspective changes the meaning of responsibility. You are not responsible for everything outside, but you are responsible for the quality of coherence within. This is not a moralistic responsibility. It's practical. When your internal patterns are clear and aligned, interactions with the world become smoother. Energy is used efficiently, and outcomes reflect the quality of your state. When your internal system is fractured, tension is mirrored externally. The same event can feel effortless or exhausting depending on your alignment. Now, consider attention as a key currency. The field is responsive to your state, but attention is the mechanism through which that responsiveness becomes meaningful. Focus shapes perception, interaction, and adaptation. But attention is not a fixed spotlight. It moves, shifts, narrows, and widens. The way you distribute attention between tasks, people, thoughts, and sensations directly influences the patterns that form in your life. Attention is where alignment is enacted. Misalignment isn't a failing. It's simply energy spread incoherently, producing interference. The implications extend to learning, creativity, and relationships. In learning, alignment allows intuition to guide observation. In creativity, it allows ideas to emerge from the field instead of being forced. In relationships, it fosters genuine resonance rather than attempts to manipulate or control outcomes. Coherence generates flow, noise generates resistance. This is consistent whether the system is a single person, a team, or even a global network. The principle remains: coherence creates efficient energy exchange, incoherence creates friction. When you internalize this, the pressure to control dissolves. Life is no longer a series of battles to enforce your will. It's a dance with the field, a conversation with patterns, a practice of observation, alignment, and response. You notice that even small adjustments, slowing your breath, softening tension, pausing before reacting, shift the flow of events subtly but measurably. Influence is less about direct action and more about maintaining clarity in the system that interacts with everything else. In essence, the quantum field perspective reframes everything. You are not separate, you are embedded. Solidity is provisional. Processes are primary. Emotions are guidance, not obstacles. Control is interference. Alignment is action. Observation matters. Forcing doesn't. Silence reveals, noise conceals. This is where science and experience meet. Quantum physics shows the relational, participatory nature of reality. Biological systems demonstrate dynamic feedback and self-organization. Human experience provides a lived laboratory. Tension, ease, resonance, dissonance. Taken together, they illuminate a simple truth. Your state is the point where observation, action, and reality intersect. The next layer of understanding is consciousness itself, not as a mystical abstraction, but as a functional, measurable interface with the quantum field. Consciousness is your operating system for perceiving patterns, making decisions, and influencing the environment. It's not confined to thought or awareness in the conventional sense. It is the medium through which energy, information, and matter are interpreted and transformed. Most people experience consciousness as a narrow stream, a series of thoughts, feelings, and perceptions that feel linear and contained. But in reality, consciousness is multidimensional. Like a prism, it refracts input from the quantum field into patterns that your nervous system can process. When you broaden awareness beyond habitual thought loops, you notice layers of subtle perception. Micro-sensations in your body, shifts in attention, changes in energy, and intuitive signals that arise without rational explanation. These are not mystical, they are information channels. Your nervous system is exquisitely tuned to detect patterns even before the mind interprets them consciously. Observation itself becomes a tool. What you pay attention to, you amplify. This is not about wishful thinking. It's a functional principle of feedback systems. When your attention consistently aligns with a pattern, you reinforce coherence in both your internal state and its external manifestations. Conversely, scattered attention generates interference, producing confusion and resistance. Consciousness, in this sense, is not passive, it's participatory. You are continuously shaping the probability landscape of your experience by the quality, focus, and consistency of your attention. Here's where embodiment comes in. The body is not merely a vessel for the mind. It is the sensor array for your consciousness. Your posture, breathing, muscle tone, heart rhythm, and even micro-expressions are instruments through which alignment is experienced and projected. A coherent internal state manifests physically. Breathing becomes steady, muscles relax, heart rate stabilizes. This coherence radiates outward, influencing interactions, environments, and systems. Disruption, tension, or habitual contraction in the body generates noise. Not just internally, but in the relational field, which the quantum field naturally mirrors. Decision-making transforms under this awareness. Rather than forcing outcomes, you cultivate a state where the most aligned options become obvious. Intuition is not magical, it's pattern recognition operating at a level beyond conscious rationalization. You notice opportunities that were invisible before, not because the external world changed, but because your internal calibration allowed you to perceive them. Choices are no longer reactive, they are emergent. You act from coherence, not from scarcity, fear, or compulsion. Relationships also deepen under this framework. Connection is resonance. You can observe instantly when interactions align with your internal field and when they don't. When both parties maintain coherence, energy flows freely, trust develops, and collaboration is effortless. When patterns clash, tension arises. Importantly, you learn that your responsibility is to maintain clarity in your own system, not to fix others or control dynamics. Influence emerges naturally when alignment is sustained. It's like tuning a stringed instrument. The right tension produces a harmonic note, forced tension produces dissonance. Creativity flourishes here too. Ideas are not conjured from nothing, they emerge as the field expresses patterns through your consciousness. When internal noise is minimized, attention is refined, and emotional coherence is sustained. Creative insights appear spontaneously. You are no longer pushing, you are receiving. Art, invention, problem-solving, these become emergent phenomena rather than forced products. The more you practice inner alignment, the more effortlessly these streams of inspiration arrive. Time perception changes as well. Linear clocks are still functional for coordination, but subjective experience reveals cycles, flows, and moments of expanded awareness. When you are aligned, time stretches, compresses, or even feels simultaneous in certain experiences. Tasks that once felt laborious unfold efficiently. Moments of insight appear without apparent effort. This is not a denial of physics. It is the lived experience of interacting with a dynamic system, whose internal and external patterns resonate. Even challenges and resistance take on new meaning. They are feedback, not punishment. They reveal incoherence, hidden tension, or misalignment. When you treat obstacles as information rather than threats, Your responses shift from reactive struggle to intelligent adaptation. You observe, adjust, and align. Friction becomes a guidepost rather than a source of suffering. The field responds not to the difficulty of a situation, but to the coherence of the system encountering it. Ultimately, this perspective dissolves the illusion of separation. Self is not isolated. It is a node in a vast, interconnected system. Your state, attention, and actions ripple outward. Likewise, external patterns ripple inward, influencing you subtly. Mastery is not about control, it is about alignment. Tuning your internal state, refining attention, cultivating awareness, and allowing coherent patterns to propagate. The world then ceases to feel like a battleground and instead becomes a responsive network, sensitive to the quality of your interaction. Now that you understand the principles, consciousness as the interface, the body as the sensor, attention as the amplifier, the next step is practice. Knowledge alone changes nothing. Alignment is built through deliberate, repeated engagement with both your internal state and the subtle layers of reality. These exercises are not about forcing outcomes. They are about refining your system so that coherence naturally emerges and guides experience. 1. Awareness calibration. Start with noticing. Sit quietly for 10 to 20 minutes and observe your body, breath, and mind without judgment. Track tension in muscles, subtle shifts in posture, or recurring thought loops. The goal is not to eliminate thought, but to distinguish between habitual noise and conscious awareness. Over time, you develop the skill to recognize internal signals that indicate alignment or dissonance. Once familiar with your baseline, expand attention outward. Observe sounds, light, temperature, and movement in your environment. Notice how subtle changes in attention affect perception. This trains your nervous system to interact fluidly with patterns, both internal and external. 2. Breath as a tuning tool. Breathing is a direct bridge to coherence. Deep, slow, rhythmic breathing synchronizes the nervous system, stabilizes emotional states, and tunes attention. Advanced practice involves resonance breathing, where exhale slightly exceeds inhale and is paired with mindful visualization of energy flowing through your body. This enhances the sensitivity of the nervous system and aligns subtle energies with your conscious intent. 3. Intentional observation and amplification. Once internal coherence is established, practice directing attention deliberately. Choose one subtle pattern, an idea, an intention, or a desired quality, and focus on it for 5 to 10 minutes. Visualize it as clearly as possible, noticing sensations, emotions, and bodily responses. The key is consistency and subtlety. Coherence is amplified by repeated, focused attention without attachment to outcome. This is how the quantum field responds, not to desire but to stabilized, coherent resonance. 4. Body-mind integration. Your body is a sensor array for alignment. Daily practices like gentle stretching, movement meditation, or yoga allow you to release habitual tension and maintain awareness of subtle sensations. Posture, balance, and fluidity of movement directly influence the clarity of attention and perception. Even simple routines, walking consciously, noticing the shift of weight, sensing the soles of your feet, and aligning breath with movement can dramatically enhance your ability to detect patterns and maintain internal coherence. 5. Feedback as information. Every interaction and experience is feedback. When something feels off or resistant, treat it as information rather than a threat. Ask internally, what in my system is generating this? Adjust attention, posture, or emotion accordingly. This approach shifts life from reactive problem-solving to proactive alignment. 6. Intuition cultivation. Intuition arises when coherent awareness interacts with subtle patterns beyond conscious rationalization. To develop it, engage in small daily exercises, make minor decisions based on subtle impressions, and observe outcomes. Track when alignment feels right and when it feels scattered. Over time, your internal calibration improves, allowing emergent patterns to guide choices naturally. 7. Integration into daily life. These practices are not meant to be isolated sessions. They are principles to live by. Begin each day with 5 to 10 minutes of awareness and breath calibration. Pause periodically to check alignment throughout your tasks. End the day by reviewing subtle signals, noting what resonated and what created friction. This cyclical practice ensures that consciousness, attention, and embodiment remain coherent, not just in meditation but in real life. 8. Creative alignment. Engage in a creative practice, writing, drawing, problem-solving, music, or any form of creation. Focus less on product and more on resonance. Notice how ideas emerge when your system is coherent. Track how periods of distraction, tension, or fragmented attention disrupt the flow. This reinforces the link between internal state and external manifestation. Advanced alignment involves consciously interacting with the quantum field to influence outcomes. Begin by maintaining internal coherence, calm mind, steady breath, and embodied awareness. Amplify intentions through focused attention without attachment to results. Subtle visualization and emotion integration act as signals to the field, strengthening resonance. Observe feedback from experiences. Adjust attention, posture, and energy to maintain alignment. Intuition grows as your system becomes more sensitive to patterns, guiding choices effortlessly. Integrate these practices into daily life, breath, movement, and mindful observation, so coherence becomes natural. Creative activities and deliberate attention to subtle shifts amplify influence, allowing you to navigate probabilities rather than react to events. Mastery is refinement, repeated intentional alignment with consciousness, energy, and perception. Understanding the quantum field changes how you experience life. Everything is vibration. Your body, thoughts, and emotions are dynamic patterns interacting with the field. Solidity is an illusion. Matter is energy organized into patterns. Emotions are information, not judgments, guiding perception and action. Coherence matters more than effort. Alignment between thoughts, feelings, and behavior creates clear signals the field reflects. Observation shapes outcomes subtly. Attention amplifies patterns. Control and force fragment your system. Stillness and awareness restore clarity. You never connect to the field, you are already within it. By noticing your internal state, reducing resistance, and allowing emotions to move, you influence interactions naturally. Life becomes less about controlling outcomes and more about refining resonance, responding to patterns, and inhabiting a state that supports clarity, flow, and coherence. Alignment is habitual, subtle, and embodied, not forced.